Okay, next section of books is actually miscellaneous, a bunch of random stuff really. Cultural criticism, psychology, education, some biographies. Yep, that's about it. So I guess I didn't really organize these, so they're going to be a little bit scattered. So here's Nathaniel Branden's 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. I actually had this in the library, and I flipped through it, and then I saw this at the library sale, and so I thought, okay, well, I guess I'll just buy it. I'll just have it for $2. So, interesting about Nathaniel Branden, you may know that he is very connected with Ayn Rand, but I don't actually know much about why Branden was famous to begin with, because apparently he was actually a prominent psychologist before Rand ever came on the scene. And so, why is that? Because I don't have a psychology degree or anything like that. I have a few courses from undergrad, but I was curious. I had never heard of Branden. Branden is not talked about that I know of in undergraduate degrees, at least up in Canada. So this was written, I guess, in '94. This is an older book, but I'm not sure where Branden's origins come from. And I guess that wouldn't be a book to tell me, but I thought I had about it. Here's Neil Postman, How to Watch TV News. So, you may know I own Amusing Ourselves to Death, and I actually should do a video on it because it's very good, and it's worth talking about because it makes a lot of really great points about what TV is doing, or what the media and how it is like nowadays, what it's doing to, it seems, to the population, to the public, at least the Western public. And so I thought this book was it must be about similar topics. So it must be like a defense, must be how to watch TV news and not have your brain sucked out of your head, or not become a mindless idiot who watches Friends and things like that. I bet you that's what it's about, and that's fantastic. I want to read that. Although I don't watch TV, so... But maybe I'll be able to save other people's minds. How about that? The Unschooled Mind by Howard Gardner. You may know Howard Gardner came up with a theory of multiple intelligences. Right now we have tests. Apparently tests and even school in general mostly measure one's ability to use logic and math and spatial things like that. And right now IQ is supposed to be composed of just really those 2 measures. Gardner says, yes, those are valid measures, but there are all kinds of other intelligences that should be validated. And so then he brings in kinesthetic intelligence, like being a good dancer, people who can move their bodies very well, very purposefully. That is an intelligence, according to Gardner. There's music intelligence. There's interpersonal intelligence, meaning that you can understand other people very well. There's intra-personality, personal intelligence, which means you understand yourself very well. Although I don't know how other people judge that. How can other people judge your understanding of yourself? That's seems Freudian, but... And then there is what's called a natural intelligence, meaning people are very good with objects and art and things like that, recognizing objects. And there's some other ones too, but anyways, I thought I would have that for $2 from the library. So, How Children Think and How Schools Should Teach is the subtitle. Maybe I should be doing a few of the dates. Let me just give you the Postman date. I'm actually curious what it is. 92. About television. Howard Gardner wrote this in 91. Okay, here's one on culture. Our culture, what's left of it? The Mandarins and the Masses. This is by Theodore Dalrymple, author of Life at the Bottom. So you may know that I own that, Life at the Bottom. Life at the Bottom is a very good book. Theodore Dalrymple wrote this one as well. Apparently, I found out Theodore Dalrymple is a pseudo name It's not his real name. He has a different name. And I think actually he might have written books under his real name. So I don't know why. I'm not even sure why they use pseudonyms. Are they trying to escape nasty letters if they're offend anybody? I wouldn't really consider Theodore Dalrymple. He's not as controversial as Hitchens. So I don't know why he uses a pseudonym, but he's a British guy, by the way. You can look him up on YouTube. I looked him up and I listened to what he had to say, and wasn't very agreeable to me, his political leanings, but and strangely he has the opinions he does, and yet he's kind of more on the left. But so anyways, I guess this is a book about culture. I suppose the face on the front is a result of a destroying a culture that is being destroyed. I don't know. So if you're a punk out there, if you got an earring in your nose, then you are the problem. And if you've got strange hair, or if you put contacts in your eyes that change the color of your eyes, or give your cat-looking eyes, then you're also a dissident, and you're destroying our culture. Here's a good one. I actually read this when I was doing my master's, and I saw a copy there, and I thought, well, shit, I'll have that for $2. Lost at School. It's by a psychologist, and it talks a lot about behavior, and he has some intervention programs and stuff. I thought actually it was very interesting, and yeah, so that was no problem to pick that up. It's by Greene with an E at the end, 2008. Here's one that people will know. There's The Outliers by Michael Gladwell, popularist author. The story of success. I'm not sure if what does this book say that? I'm not sure if this book says that. I think this book says that people's success is not even in the majority their own effort, because of their own effort. It's from other circumstances, like their parents have money, or they had a good childhood, or they're male and white or something, probably. And I don't know, I guess I'm editorializing. Maybe he doesn't say that. I'm pretty sure that the book says that the success is not really 100% your own efforts. There's all kinds of leg ups that people get based on their circumstances. So, okay, here's this is a biography. Isaiah Berlin, Michael Ignatieff. Now, I don't know, you might know this, but he actually ran for the Liberal Party in Canada, and the party did terribly. Is that his fault? I don't know. He's a professor. I believe he taught at Harvard. Anyways, he did a biography on Isaiah Berlin. There he is there. He, I guess, wrote lots on liberty. He's not very well known. I didn't really know anything about him until I have another one of his books called something about four essays on liberty by Isaiah Berlin. I don't know, this book smells like perfume. I don't know why. So yeah, it's got a bunch of random titles in it. I don't know what those are, but so, well, I guess it's about his life. I guess he's been to a lot of places here: London, Oxford, New York, Moscow, Leningrad, the Cold War. That's on Isaiah Berlin. All right, Voltaire's Bastards. John Ralston Saul, The Dictatorship of Reason in the West? Well, what is that? I had to find out what the hell that's about. So this is, I also picked this up for $2 or whatever. 1992. And I don't really know what it's about. I guess social science, philosophy. It's about reason, Western civilization. Let me see what the... There's a table of contents. Oh, here we go. Looks like it's about a little bit of history. I'm not really sure what it's about, though. But is it critical of reason? I don't know. I guess I'll find out. Maybe someone who watches this will have read it and they'll tell me what it's about. Here is another biography, Francis Bacon, The Temper of a Man, by Catherine Drinker Bowen. Francis Bacon was part of the Enlightenment, so he was helping along the sciences, getting rid of... I'm not sure if he was necessarily critical of religion, but he was certainly adding the empirical side to science, more and more of that, rather than consulting the church for our answers. Here's John Paul Jones. Very, very strange cover. Has nothing to do with John Paul Jones, except for I guess there's a giant anchor, but the cover is ridiculous. They should have put his face on there, or put a boat or something. Anyways, John Paul Jones was a American. I don't know where he was born. Maybe he was born in Britain. He was a naval captain for the American Revolution, for the Americans. And he had a ship, and he sailed it to England and harassed England for a while, bombarded harbors at night, sunk anchored boats, and it's funny, it's interesting, because Americans who know their history celebrate him as a hero for the American Revolution. The British hate him and believe him to be a pirate and a thief and a scoundrel, and they're right. And so are the Americans. So it's interesting to take the different sides, because he really was a pirate, but it was war. So, Here's The War Against Boys by Christina Hoff Sommers. She's actually a libertarian feminist, but she defines the term a lot differently than the kind of mainstream feminism that you have today. And she actually, I thought this was a great pushback book to modern feminism, especially towards education, because that's what the field I'm in. She talks about the feminization of the classroom, that a lot of things that are done in the classroom nowadays are more congenial to female than male development. Very interesting. And so she believes that a lot of the problems with boys, like for example, boys right now, there's a little bit of a, I don't want to say dilemma, like there's a little bit of a topic or discussion going on right now about boys' literacy rates are low compared to, well, much compared to girls, but they're much lower. It's much worse than it used to be. Girls were always better at languages than men, but apparently it's gotten worse. It's declined. The gap has declined, or men at least have dropped. And so they're trying to, there's research ongoing right now. Maybe this is just a Canadian problem, and I kind of doubt it. So there's research going on about that. And one of the perspectives on why there's a lower literacy rate for boys is because there's this feminization of the classroom stuff. Very interesting. It's very interesting when the policies and I want to say party lines of the academics, or some academics, the beliefs of academics, their view of the world, their view of human nature, their view of genders, seems to be backfiring, and it seems to actually be causing more problems. So I don't know. I thought it was a very interesting pushback. So that's great. Okay. Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. What did this cost me? It cost me 12.5 cents. That's pretty good. So anyways, thought I'd have that. Oh, here's a controversial one. It's very beaten up, but I thought maybe it would be worth having. Judgment Day by Nathaniel Branden, My Years of Ayn Rand. So you may know that there was a bit of a problem, bit of a blowout with that. And so this is by Nathaniel Branden. I don't know what he's going to say. There's a lot of mudslinging going on with that. And the objectivist community essentially believes that Branden has nothing important, nothing unbiased to say about Ayn Rand anymore. Essentially that Branden is looking to damage Ayn Rand's reputation. And so anyways, I thought maybe it's beaten up, but it's worth, I guess it was $2, or was it $2? Maybe. Oh no, it was 60 cents. So I thought I'd have it. By the way, I do also have The Passion of Ayn Rand by Barbara Branden. And I haven't got around to reading it yet. So I've also got that one too. But there's other biographies on Rand. And so here's another one. A couple more left here. The Autocrat of the Breakfast Table by Oliver Wendell Holmes. But that is not the judge, Oliver Wendell Holmes. That is his father, actually. And I believe this is fiction, but it is essentially his views on life and everything. They're essays, but they're written as fiction. They're written with a story, but they're essentially his views, his father's views on random things and so. Okay, here's Ayn Rand for the New Intellectual. I already have a more recent copy, but I saw it there, and so I'd have it to give out for a loaner or something. Here's a good find. Mortimer J. Adler, The Great Ideas from the Great Books of Western Civilization. I've been going through the great works, the great books. I think they're called the Great Books. They're put together by Adler. Adler put together a series of books on reading other books. So maybe I'll show you it. Here's one of them. So it says, An Introduction to the Great Works and to a Liberal Education by Adler and Peter Wolf. I'll just show you the table of contents here. So here's a reading list. So if you want to get a liberal education, this is how it's done. This is where you start for Western liberal ed. You probably can find this online, but geez, I hope you can read that. I'll say this stuff anyways. I just thought I'd show you it. Plato's Apology and Crito. Let me say what the procedure first of all is. So there's a bunch of different readings to do with page numbers and all that. And then it provides commentary on the reading. This book doesn't have the text. It doesn't have like a Plato's Apology and Crito in it. You have to go and get that. But it does have commentary on those books, and it has questions in it. And then I think there's questions and answers, and then there's also more questions that are just for you. There's answers to those, but they're in another book. The first reading is Plato's Apology and Crito, Plato's The Republic, Sophocles, who was a playwright, Greek playwright, Oedipus the King and Antigone. Those are two separate plays, Oedipus the King and Antigone. So there's questions on those, and you're supposed to read those, and then there's commentary and all that. Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle's Politics. Plutarch, The Lives. Plutarch was a biographer, a Greek biographer. Actually, I should mention that. That's where I'm on it right now. I actually haven't touched this stuff for a while. But I am at Plutarch, which is the 6th reading. Plutarch, The Lives. It's actually very, very well written. And it's a translated work. Usually translated works are annoying because you've got... Here's the issue. Translation, you've got a language converting to another language. So you've got a translator who knows one language well and the other they've studied. And so you usually have a trade-off. Is it better to have a translator whose mother tongue is in the language they're translating into, or the language of the book they're translating from? And so that's why usually translated works are annoying, and they're usually poorly written. they're either poorly written, or it's because the author didn't really quite understand the book they're translating, because that language wasn't their expert language. But anyways, Plutarch's Lives is actually very well written, very interesting. It's talking about these different Greeks, and what it does is it talks about a Greek, and it talks about another Greek, and these are not just random Greeks, these are somewhat famous Greeks. And then it compares them, compares their personalities and their characters. And it's actually holds you to read. It is that well written. So if you can find it, pick up Plutarch, The Lives. And I actually have an abridged copy. It's got some of them. It's called Selected Lives, so it's got some of them. But along with the great works, the Adler and Wolff series, they also have all the books. So you could buy these books. You could buy these books, which are about other books and about reading them and questions on them. And you can also buy the great works, which have all the books you're supposed to read in their own binding and all that. And that's what I have here from the library, because my Selected Lives didn't have the ones I'm supposed to read. So you can also get them there too. So I guess it doesn't matter. If you just picked up the abridged copy, then you can just read that and have fun with it. But it was strangely very well written. I recommend it. Next is the Old Testament, the Book of Job. I haven't gotten to that one yet. St. Augustine's The Confessions, Montaigne's The Essays, Shakespeare's Hamlet, John Locke's Concerning Civil Government, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels as a fairly common fiction, Gibbon, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, and the Federalist Papers. If only Americans would read those things. The Marx and Engels, the Communist Manifesto is also in here to read. So those are the 15 books for liberal ed. An introduction, I guess, anyways. So, what section was this? So I guess this was relevant. Yeah, so here's the guy. There's Adler again, the great ideas. And so this is just more, right? How to think about truth, how to think about opinion. These are the chapters in the book. The difference between knowledge and opinion. Opinion and human freedom. Opinion and majority rule. This is going to be great. What was it about leisure? I saw something about leisure. Oh, it's got tons of chapters. The kinds of art. How to think about art. How to watch TV. How to think about work. How to think about government. How to think about change. How to think about progress. You should pick this up. Pick this up and change your way of thinking about things. Okay. Next is going to be either politics or philosophy/religion.